Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Gale Harris. We're going to be discussing her amazing book, Everything That Glitters Is Not Gold. It's available for purchase through Amazon, as well as barnesandnoble.com, Walmart, pretty much wherever books are sold. Head on over there today, pick up your copies, and get lost in it. And I'm going to tell you why you need to do that in just a moment. But before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out that Gale was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And people you already know, I'm talking about Author Reputation Press. So for my writers out there listening in, I want you to listen closely. If you have gone through your process, you have spent countless hours, I'm talking about some sleepless nights at times, creating your book, creating your masterpiece, and you finally did it. You have gotten to the end of the tunnel. You see it there in front of you. It's so close you can reach out and touch it. Although now you realize you need help moving the book you just finished creating. Well, if that's you, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact ARP. I'm telling you, people, they're one of the best in the business to do it. This is exactly what they specialize in. So head on over to authorreputationpress.com today and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Gale here on the line. Now, I mentioned to you a moment ago that you're going to want to run and pick up copies of her book, Everything That Glitters Is Not Gold. And people, listen, there is so much happening in the world today. There is so much division. There's just so much animosity. And this is the book that you need. Right? Because when it comes to living your life in the way God has intended, well, this is a self-help narrative that's going to help you do just that. All right. It is there to guide its readers on how to live their lives with God's guidance. And with so many distractions today, with so many divisive tactics that are infiltrating our communities, man, I don't know about you, but I could use some of that right now, right? I can use something like this to help me get back on track. And this is exactly what it's going to do for you. It's a quick, easy read that packs a punch. I'm telling you, it's a nonstop page turner that you're not going to be able to put down because of how informative it is and the way it's going to help transform your life. People, I'm telling you, this is much bigger than a literary creation. This is a movement, all right? This is a lifestyle change. And at the end of the day, well, don't take my word for it. Take Gale's. It's her book. She's written it, and she's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. So do me a favor. Sit back and strap in. Gale, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Well, Gale, listen, it's a true pleasure to have you here with us. I love what you're doing here. I love what this book stands for and represents. And it is a true delight to be able to have you here, right? So I know we have a lot of information to cover, Gale, pertaining to the book itself, but I'm going to hold off slightly before jumping into that. First and foremost, tell us more about your background.
I am a former teacher. I retired as of July of last year. This July coming up will be 2 years since I've been retired. I have taught kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade. I have taught special needs. I have taught the learning disabled, the hearing impaired, and had a variety of different styles of teaching that I've been able to do. I truly say that I have enjoyed my teaching years, but now I'm retired. So now I'm looking into doing other things such as writing.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Gale, for all my educators out there listening in, they understand that whether you're in the classroom or out, that education doesn't stop. Okay. So first and foremost, thank you very much for all of your years of dedication in helping shape and mold the minds of future generations, because I had a very brief stint in education myself. My listening audience is very well aware of this, and I have a lot of educators in my inner circle between family and friends. And one thing that is certain is educators never get the amount of credit that they deserve for all of the hats that they have to wear, and they damn sure don't get paid enough. So thank you for all of your dedication and everything that you've been able to put in. And as I stated, the education doesn't stop, because here with this book, Everything That Glitters Is Not Gold, it's filled with so many gems, and we're looking forward to all of them. So without further ado, Gale, tell us more about your book.
Well, my book is about the precepts and concepts of God and how he wants us to live here on earth. It is about how he wants us to treat each other. The book is about his love for us. It shows that love needs to be the one thing in life that we should seek more than anything else. Without it, whatever we do or say really has no lasting value. Here God is talking about how love is patient, is kind, unselfish, and faithful. This is a far cry from the love that we see in the world, a love that is impatient, rude, selfish, and temporary.
Yeah.
The kind of love God wants us to give others is impossible to manufacture on our own. You might say that is a supernatural love. It is the natural outflow of God's presence in our life. That is why the Apostle Paul told the Roman believers, God has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with his love.
Love that. You know, Gale, I want to touch up on inspiration next. Now, this is a convoluted one, right? And there's a lot of different ways that we can go. So it's going to be a multi-part question. But first and foremost, what inspired you to be a writer? I mean, was this a love or a hobby of yours growing up? Were there artists that inspired you? Talk to us a little bit more about where that love for writing comes from.
Well, it came from some of my teachers. I believe one was a third grade teacher, Miss West. Another was maybe one was Miss West, fifth grade teacher. And the other was a third grade teacher, Miss Parker. And with the writing, it gave me a way to express myself, to express my feelings, along with being able to draw, because I also love to draw. Another thing that I guess helped me to want to become a writer was Maya Angelou. I love her writings, her teachings.
Yeah.
And I loved how she was good with words and how she was able to formulate words and put them together to have such meaning. So she's also one of the ones that inspired me to want to write.
Love that. Listen, she's inspired an entire generation. That woman was magnificent. Follow up and second inspiration question. So we know about the writing background. Well, when it comes to this particular book and others on the horizon, which we'll touch up on later, what inspired you to write Everything That Glitters Is Not Gold?
Well, initially, I was going to write about poetry, which I have plenty of poetry. But then God told me that this was a book that I needed to write. These are his words. They're not my words. I only put the title there, but these are his words. These are words that he wanted the generation now to know and the generation to be to know. So these are his precepts and concepts of how he wants us to live with each other, how he wants us to live here on earth.
Mm-hmm. Gale, listen, I am fascinated by your title. Of course, it's a quote that has been heard before, but it's something beautiful about the words themselves, but also the imagery that comes with it and the way it can be interpreted. right? And how we can manipulate that and connect it to our lives and life's lessons. But I want to hear it from your mouth, Gale. Talk to us about that title and why you chose that to be the representation for your book.
Well, I chose the title book that everything that glitters is not gold because you have so many different meanings, as you were saying, about everything that glitters is not gold. It covers so many areas. But when I look at it, and as I was writing the book, everything that glitters is not gold, I use that title because people have their own perceptions of things and how they perceive things in their minds, in their hearts, what their beliefs are. I believe a lot of those things comes from our experiences. It comes from our upbringing, uprearing. It comes from our place of residence, including the state or country that we live in. I think all these play a great part in how we see ourselves and how we see the world. We sometimes become judgmental of people we do not even know. We perceive them as being one way, but when we actually get to know them, we find out they are totally different from what we thought they were. Yeah. Maybe we look at them a certain way, and maybe because of their expressions or whatever, we thought that they maybe was this person. But when we came to know them and we talked with them and were able to identify with them, then we could understand even maybe the way that they behaved or whether they had reasons for behaving that way. Not necessarily meaning to make them a bad person. But the world also can cause you and it forms you too if you will allow it. It can either create you or form you to be negative or can form you to be a positive person. Hopefully we want to allow it to be help us to be more positive than negative.
Absolutely. People, listen, I'm loving what she's talking about here. There are gems to be found, and we've only scratched the surface. One more time, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much any online book reseller. Head on over there. Just do a quick Google search, Everything That Glitters Is Not Gold by Gale Harris. And you're going to be greeted with a whole host of places where you can purchase copies for yourself. You know, Gale, curiosity for myself here with this next one, but what would you say was a highlight for you throughout this process, either writing the book, getting it published, anything? What would you say was a highlight, or if not a highlight, something that surprised you during this process that you weren't anticipating before you began?
Well, I wasn't anticipating really doing something biblical as far as writing. Mm-hmm. I was looking at doing poetry. I was also looking at doing the autobiography of my father, of his passing, because they were actually his words. But then the Lord put on my heart to write this book because he wanted it to be among the masses. He wanted people to know how he felt about different things, how he felt about relationships, how he felt about marriage and love. How he felt as to how he wanted us to live and how he wants us to be. It talks about the biases that sometimes we have. It talks about the purpose for marriage, how we overcome biases, our insecurities, and how a way of our insecurities have a way of affecting us in a positive way or a negative way. It also talks about God's standards, the standards that he has set for us and how he expects us to live.
Mm-hmm. Gale, focusing on the future here. I mean, listen, this book is magnificent, and I could sit here, I could talk to you for hours on this alone. There is so much to be covered here. And like I said, the book has such a great message behind it, and it's so perfectly timed. Because there's a lot happening in the world today. And again, it could have been that this has always been the case. And maybe with each passing year, as I get older, I'm now becoming more aware to it. I don't know, something seems a little different. It seems like there's just a little more division today than there was yesterday. So I think your book is wonderfully timed because it offers so much. But as we transition here in focusing on tomorrow, focusing on the future. Gale, what's upcoming for you? Please tell me there's another book on the horizon, because this one is magnificent, and I'm hoping that there's more on the horizon. What's next?
Well, absolutely. Once I complete this, I'm also looking, I'm now working on a project with the LA Times Magazine. So hopefully that will be coming forth within the next 4 to 5 months.
Wow.
Also have another project, which is my invention, where I have created. It's already been patent copied, but it's a project that I created to help people that have problems with their fingers, with their fine motor skills. As we get older, our fingers and other limbs don't work as well sometimes. And so this was created to help people to be able to zip or button their clothing, or even, when you're zipping your boots or that type of thing. So that should also be on the rising coming soon.
There you have it. There you have people. Be on the lookout for it, man. This is just the precipice. There is so much more on the horizon, so much more happening here. Gale, as we close out, as I mentioned before, you're an educator through and through. In the classroom, out of the classroom, it doesn't matter. You have wisdom to offer, and you're willing to offer it. And I want to pull a little bit more out of you before I let you go. From a writing perspective, you are someone that has been through the process. You've gone through the gauntlet of getting your book published, so you have wisdom that you can offer to new writers out there listening in. Well, Gale, when it comes to self-doubt, when it comes to the vulnerability that comes along with sharing your work with the world and leaving yourself open and susceptible to potential criticism, how do you handle that?
Well, I have come to realize that everybody is not going to think as I do. Everybody is not going to believe as I do. I'm a person that believes that a person has the right to their opinion. Everybody has the right to their opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong or right, but we can come to a compromise. And what I have written is biblically based. So it's not something that was just written. There are scriptures there to back up what I have written. So it's in the Word.
Yeah.
So it's not just that I just came off the top of my head and said, okay, I'm going to put this down. And with this, God allowed me to write this book in less than 6 months. He reminded me that he allowed me to do that. And he did allow me to do that. In less than 6 months, this book was written. Never had any idea that I would write one that's biblical. I'm glad that I have had the experience of doing that. I'm glad that I have had the experience of writing, and that there were those who walked me through the process, the writing process, of what it actually looks like to write a book. I would say to anybody that wants to write, don't give up. Put the pencil to the paper and just keep writing. There's something that somebody needs to hear. And so whatever you're saying, it's important. It's important to someone.
Yeah.
And you never know impact it's going to have on someone else's life. And hopefully it would have a positive impact on their life. So I would tell anybody, don't give up on writing. It took me a long time before I even decided to write a book. I would just think about it. I would talk about it. And then the Lord let me know, okay, it's time to stop thinking about it and talking about it. And now it's time to put the pencil to the paper and let's get writing. And so once I did that, then the words he just gave me. And so they just started to come and they just started to flow. So I would tell anybody, don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on writing. Don't give up because you have age. I am 64. Lord, let me see it in April. I'll be 65. I am still going. I am still moving. I am still much very vibrant. I love life. I love people. I love living. But most of all, I live to treat people like I would want to be treated. And so I think that's the best way to live your life, is to treat people like you would want to be treated. When you do that, I think you cover a lot of the commandments when you treat people as you want to be treated. And so that's what I would leave as to: don't give up, keep living. Every day that God gives us is a blessing, and it's to be used in a positive manner. Do something, be something, say something, but most of all, write something. And so I have truly enjoyed my writing of the book, and I recommend anybody to just write what you feel, just put it down to paper. And you don't have to always have it formulated in your mind, everything is said, but just write down what you're saying or what you're feeling at the moment. And then you can always come back and put that in paragraphs or whatever like that. And then look to maybe even send to have it published. But it's something that someone always needs to hear. And there's something that always needs to be said.
Can we just talk about how much wisdom was in that last answer? My goodness. Fantastic advice for new writers, right? That of course is a given. But I really want to touch up on a notion that she said in terms of something that I don't really see that is discussed anymore, in terms of treating others how you want to be treated. We've truly done a full circle here because, when we first started, she mentioned one of her inspirations in terms of one of the authors that has inspired her, Maya Angelou. So many of you out there listening in, you know the name, and you probably have been inspired by her as well. She inspired millions. She was a magnificent woman. One of her quotes that I often think about that resonated with me was when Maya Angelou said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That quote, I think, is something that is so pertinent to what we have been discussing, and it's such a great motivation for life, right? And how you should coordinate and operate your life. And I think it coincides with the message of God, right? In terms of treating others how you want to be treated. Because people, can we stop and understand that if more of us actually did that, where knowing that people are going to remember how we made them feel. And then, of course, we then operate when we want to really mimic our lives in the way that God would want us to. So now we're trying to make people feel good. How much better this world can be. How amazing this world could be, and filled with love and acceptance. Ah, my goodness. That is a beautiful thing. And this is something that her book represents. It's something that her book is going to help you think about. Man, listen, you guys know what you need to do. Okay? I don't have to say it again, but I'm going to say it again. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, you name it. Everything That Glitters Is Not Gold by Gale Harris. Head on over there, pick up your copies today. While you're at it, pick up extra copies to give to someone else to add to their shelf, because these are messages that everyone needs to have. And I truly mean this when I said it at the beginning of the interview. This is so much larger than a literary creation. If we can all operate from this understanding, imagine the mountains that we could move. And imagine the future that we could be leaving behind for our children. This is some powerful stuff. You know where to go. Pick up your copies today. Get lost in all of it. Gale, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
And thank you for having me on.